What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the latest episode of Life After Strange right here on Player One versus the World. And my latest guest, she is the queen of the Vortex Club. She will eventually hate Max, but in this game, she hates Chloe and Rachel. And it's none other than Theresa Croft.
Hi.
Theresa, thank you for coming on my show. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
No, absolute pleasure. And finally, I get one of the Victorias on the show as well. I've been chasing up another one, but absolutely fantastic to have you on here. And before we jump into this as well, I don't want to start with Victoria and Life is Strange Before Storm. I kind of want to focus with who Theresa Croft is. So tell me, how did you end up getting into acting?
Well, I started acting when I was, about maybe 5 years old. I grew up in the Midwest here in America, and I started in theater. I love theater, and then I just kind of grew into singing. I started recording and writing songs at just the young age of 11 and, in sessions. And then I started dance actually at 3. So it all kind of came together, just acting, singing, dancing. And I couldn't see myself doing anything else in the world but to just, storytell and help people through art. And I eventually moved to Los Angeles to pursue my career even further. And yeah, that's kind of just how I got into it. Just theater really, I think, was the center of everything, and just combining everything just is amazing to me, and I love what I do. And I think voiceover, since we're talking about Victoria Chase and all that today, I think voiceover is really fun. I was always into, as a singer, just I was always in the studio, so kind of using my voice in a different medium now for voiceover work is just so much fun, and you kind of get to use the acting with it, but you're behind the character. So yeah, that's kind of just how I guess at a young age just kind of grew into it. It's what I want to do, and yeah.
Amazing. And I'm glad that you mentioned all the different skill sets you have, because as you said, you're a singer, a dancer, a songwriter, a model, and all those attributes, how those experiences helped you evolve as a person, and then just generally moving the career forward. How's that been to take all those skills on?
Yeah. So as a person, I think, there's a lot of things people see that they think, that being an actress and a singer and a model and dancer, that's just such a glamorous life. It's really not. It's not like that for everybody. There are exceptions, obviously, but it's a lot of hard work. And I think if you're serious about anything in life, this is what I'm serious about. It's the work kind of shows you. The more work you put in, the more work you'll get out of it, and reward, I guess you could say, out of it. So it's kind of just taught me a lot of discipline and a lot of mental strength. You have to really know who you are. And I think at any town, any person, what people say or what people think about you, that can really sway you as a person if you aren't true to who you are already. So I think I kind of have really grown into knowing who Theresa is. And it's not easy, trust me, but I think that's something that I've had to learn as the years went on. And what was your second question? It was,
and how's it helped you evolve as your career going forward, all those different skills?
Oh yeah. So all the skills, I think it's been really cool. I've been able to do a lot of cool different jobs and just opportunities, because, if a lot of times people want an actress, but, oh, she can sing too. Okay, we don't need to hire someone else to do the singing or do the dancing or do that. It's kind of fun to do all of the things. And one day I'll be in the studio singing, the next day I'll be doing a photo shoot, or the next day I'll be, writing in a session or working in voiceover. It's kind of ooh, what am I going to do today? And I think that's kind of what I envisioned for myself. And I'm very blessed and lucky to be able to do this.
That does sound like an amazing, all those skills that you've picked up. And just before we dig into Life is Strange as well, on the acting side, were there any kind of major influences growing up in terms of actors that you really liked, or even just generally people that kind of pushed you into this career path?
Yeah, I have to say, a lot of people actually compare me to her too, Anne Hathaway. I think at a young age, I grew up watching her, especially with Princess Diaries, and just her background is in theater as well. And I think she's just a brilliant performer. Every piece of work I've seen her do is just it's just, she studies, she knows like what she's doing. And I think she's someone I really look up to, as well as Jennifer Aniston, Emma Watson. I really love Emma Watson. I think they're just like powerhouse women that I think really are kind of what I'm going for, just like staying true to who you are, but also being authentic in your work as well. So I think at a young age, I just grew up watching films, and I do love watching old films as well. I love Doris Day, Audrey Hepburn, like those two women. And there's one woman actually who, she's incredible. I don't believe a lot of people know about her, but her name was Vera Ellen. That's Vera Ellen. She was a tap dancer, ballet dancer, singer, actress back in the day. And a lot of people don't know about her, but she's in the films like White Christmas. She's danced with Fred Astaire. She's, I think, someone I really think I'm kind of taking in her steps right now, or like falling into who she is back in the day, because she kind of does what I did. But a lot of people don't really know who she is. And I think it's a shame, because she was so talented and so gifted, and she, doesn't get a lot of praise, especially nowadays. So I'm a big old Hollywood person. Like I wish we could go back to those like days where people would, be going out to the swing club instead of just sitting at home watching. I mean, there's nothing wrong with sitting at home watching, a show, but like back in the day, people were like, oh, let's go to the, swing dance, and like, let's go to the club and do this and meet people, talk to people, not sit behind, a TV or computer. But yeah.
Well, I hope we see a revival of all those things, especially when the pandemic's over as well.
Oh, for sure. Yes.
So, let's dig into this. How did you end up auditioning for Before the Storm? What was your audition process like for that?
Yeah, so, it was very, very weird how it happened, actually. So I saw a breakdown. So what we get as an actor, we get a breakdown and we see like what the job is. And I think I submitted for this character. I didn't really know much about it. It was a voiceover, and at the beginning, they were acting as though it was just like going to be a small little bit here and there. Like, and I was like, okay, anything I like doing. But it actually turns out, as you all know, it turned out to be this huge deal. Like I woke up one day and was like, oh my gosh, my Twitter, I don't even use Twitter. And I just had all these fans, and I was like, oh my goodness. And I was like, oh, I guess the game's out. But yeah, it was funny because they didn't disclose what it was until like after, like almost when it was going to be released. So I kind of was like playing this character that like I had so much fun playing, but I didn't know what it was for. So yeah, I'd have to do like recording days here and there for like going to studio sessions. And then again, I didn't really know what it was. But it was really fun because I read the breakdown of Victoria, and I was like, I always have fun playing kind of like the snooty characters. Just because like I grew up not like being that person. I was not like the queen bee. I was literally probably more like Chloe. I was like more of like the loner. But it's fun for me. And I think that I kind of delved into like her struggles and what her ideas were, I guess, of life. And it was just really fun. And yeah, I had really fun doing it.
Amazing. And with that as well, I imagine the game was under codename and the character was under codename. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I was like, because it was not Victoria at first. It was some other name when I auditioned for it. So yeah.
Right. I thought I'd just check because I've heard as many interviews now, and I'm definitely sure everything is under codename now.
Yeah.
So you kind of touched on it then as well with like your Twitter blew up. What was the initial reaction like when you landed this role in a Life is Strange game, and then when you realized what Life is Strange actually was and how big it was?
Yeah, it actually opened up my mind a lot because I like originally, as I saw the breakdown, I was like, oh, it's a voiceover thing. But I didn't know it was going to be like, I didn't know it was going to have a huge cult following. And it opened my mind more to that, like, oh, this is like a huge culture thing. I mean, I grew up playing like, Mario Kart or like those kind of fun games like when I was a kid. But I never really played like games like this. And the one thing I do love about this game is that it does take real life situations, and then it's kind of like makes the user or like the player think like, oh, what would I do in this? Like, what's my choice? And that's what I like. It's not like just, you know, kind of, it's not a wasteful time game. You know what I mean? It's not like a game where you like have to like just zone out. This is a game where you can actually like use skills and like tools, and it's kind of fun to see how the story evolves. And I think I have had a lot of people reach out to me saying, you know, like, oh, I really like your work, or like you more than just Victoria Chase. So that's been kind of cool to like see. Like one girl was so sweet. If she's listening, I'll actually send it to her. Her name is Becky. She lives in the UK, actually, I believe. And she sent me like this whole like fan mail thing, and it was just so sweet. It was like a V necklace. It had a horse on it. She wrote a nice letter, and she supports me in a lot of stuff, and it's been really cool. And it really opened my mind to like, oh, this is a whole new medium of a whole genre in art. So that was really cool.
Oh, that's amazing. I hope she is watching this as well. If not, I'll try and find her and get a link to her. Did you decide to dig into Victoria when you got the role? And obviously she's got a full story in the first game.
Yes, yeah. So right after I found out, like, oh, actually they changed the name to Victoria, and then this is like going on what we were doing, I kind of like looked back into her history, and I know there was like another voice actress that played her in the prior game or something. So I kind of like looked into that, and that kind of really gave me more of a broader idea of like where she was now and where I wanted to kind of take her. And I think especially in the part where, you know, I do the whole tea situation, I'm getting ready to like play the role in the Shakespeare play. I think that moment is kind of her, she's very feisty in this. I feel like she's really going for what she wants. And that kind of just really broadened my perception on what limits I wanted to set, but also what limits I didn't want to settle for as well as Victoria.
Okay, and what were your first impressions when you saw what Victoria looked like? And I'm specifically talking about your Victoria.
Okay. Yeah, I was actually kind of shocked because like they didn't show us until like obviously it was released. I thought she was going to have like long hair and like, you know, blonde. I got the blonde right. I thought she seemed like a blonde girl. I had no idea she was going to have like short hair. I love it, but I was like, whoa, but she's so cool. I was like, wow, she really is bold. So I'm glad so what I did, I think, I don't know if they heard my voice before they made it. I think they obviously probably made her before, but like, I was like, wow, I actually kind of played to her look a little bit, you know, I kind of had that in the character. So it was like really cool. It was a good surprise.
That's cool. I have known from like the previous games as well, they have tweaked some of the characters when they've got the voice actors in, so they might have actually taken a little bit of inspiration from you to kind of do it. So you never know. I'll have to find out from one of them at some point. So you kind of touched on it before, and you've come on the show. You're very sweet and innocent, and you said that you didn't have the chance to play that kind of bad girl role. But like for me now, I was kind of ask you this question: is where do you tap into that inner level of sassiness for a character like Victoria?
Yeah, so a character like Victoria, I think, again, I grew up more of a, you know, loner. I was not like Victoria. I did not like even with the popular crowd or anything, but I saw how those girls and like that culture was growing up. I was always on the outskirts of it. So I think I kind of go back to that old train of thought of like, oh, I'm the person as a Victoria, or as like a mean girl, or as a, you know, popular person in a game or show. I kind of go back and say, you know, what was like, you know, for example, if prom means so much to them, like it's everything, it's their life. It's what I saw, what they wanted. And I kind of go back and say, you know, like if that's really what I want, like as a character, it's like, I need to go for it. And I need to be honest and authentic in that person and live in that person. So I think I kind of honestly go back to that and just what I guess the script or the sides or the scene is saying. And I kind of just use a combination of both, if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, definitely. And with the Victoria character as well, it's established like we talked about. And whilst yours is a different incarnation of the character, did you feel nervous taking on this role just because it was an established character and how popular it was with a lot of fans?
A little bit, yeah. I was like, I didn't want to, I guess, let anyone down in that sense. But then again, I was also thinking this is kind of a revision of her, and I kind of wanted to make it my own. And like I say, you know, in art in general, not everybody's going to love one version, and then some people are going to love it, you know? So I think I did a good job of what I could do authentically, and you know, people are going to have their opinions, you know, of course, but I think I did actually get a lot of people liking it, which was very amazing to hear and to see that like my work went well.
I think it was a wonderful performance, by the way, and many people do as well. And with that as well, you touched on it before, we have the fact that Dani Knights played the original character in the first Life is Strange. And obviously, as I said, like, you know, these are different characters, the ones that you two play. Was there never any temptation to maybe reach out to her and like ask for advice on the character, or was that something that never crossed your mind because this is technically your character now in Force-On?
Oh, yeah. Well, before this all happened, like I said, I didn't really even know who played her before or anything. But we all, I think after the game came out, my current cast reached out in like a group message, and we were like, oh my goodness, you guys, like we had, because we all were kind of the same, but we're like, what is going on? We all were going to get together, I think, and then someone did reach out before the pandemic, but then this whole thing happened, and, you know, unfortunately we haven't done that. But I think now, especially, I think since I don't know if we all are even in LA, though. That's the thing. A lot of people have moved back home or somewhere else because of this. I do want to actually reach out to her or anyone who was in the past Life is Strange and just talk, and maybe we could do like, you know, an Instagram live for the fans or something, just talk about it. I really do want to talk to her, but I know not beforehand, because then again, I didn't really know.
Yeah, that's fine. I think some of them do kind of move around LA. I think Kylie's back in LA at the minute, and she appeared on this show as well. So it's kind of like, I know where they're kind of like coming and going. So let's move on to the recording studio. And this is your first VO gig in a gaming job. And then you work with Philip Bache for this. What was your experience like working with him?
Oh my gosh, it was a lovely experience. It was very professional, very fluid. We had a professional studio here in Los Angeles, and it was different studios, I think, for some of them. I don't know why we like went to, I think it depended on like what was available at the time. But every time it was amazing. They made sure we had water. They made sure we were just on point. They were very nice. Like I was like really nervous, I think, the first time, because I was like, oh my gosh, because they'd have us do like 4 different takes. So I didn't even know what take they were going to use until I saw it, you know? And so since my character is very, you know, bratty and like, you know, at some points, and bossy, it was just kind of, I felt like mean. I was like, oh no, I don't want to say that to Chloe or Rachel, like, you know, but it was great. He really, if he needed something more, he would let me know. And it wasn't anything forceful from what I remember. It was a great experience, honestly. It was great.
Oh no, I'm very glad. As I said, like everyone I've ever asked this question, they always give positive stuff about Philip. So I'm glad that your experience was the same. And I pulled this quote from your website where you talk about music and you say, I'm totally that person who does vocal warm-ups in traffic. Was this the same case with Life is Strange as well on the way to the studios?
Oh, yes. I mean, in Los Angeles, if you live there or if you've been here, you know, people drive a lot and you spend a lot of time in your car because everything's so spread out. And so I think at the time I was living maybe half hour away from where the studio recording sessions were being held. And yeah, I'm definitely that person. I will not waste time because I'm like, you know, I have my tea. I'm a tea person, if anyone wants to know, because Victoria likes her tea as well. But I always just have my tea. I do my vocal warm-ups. As a singer, you know, I have to warm up every day to like exercise my voice. And yeah, it comes to a point where like at first I was like, oh, this is really weird. I'm at a stop. I've learned at traffic lights not to like just take a pause because sometimes people do look at you weird. But if I'd rather have people look at me weird than like my voice not be warmed up or like prepared. But yeah, I do that. I did that on the way to Life is Strange, or if I'm going to like a session or something. So yeah, that's me.
I'm very glad to hear that. I'm a coffee person, so I can't relate on the tea side of things, but I might like the fact that you and Victoria are very close on the tea though. So with the recording sessions as well, I've heard from some actors that their experience, Webb Pickersgill was there. Was he there for yours as well?
Where, who? Webb?
Was Webb there, the co-director of the game?
Oh, I think if anything, he might have been at the final recording. I don't think I really interacted with him, honestly, too much. I kind of really just interacted with more of the sound people. Like if they say, okay, we need this and this. They were, I think, if anything, they were on Skype or like they were there, so they were, I think everyone was very much involved. It wasn't like send it and then we'll look at it tomorrow type of thing. It was very like collaborative, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I thought so. It's usually like that. They're usually on Skype, or then Philip is always leading the session. So I thought I'd just check with that. And obviously, Victoria, this is only 3 episodes of the game, and she's in the majority of the first 2. How long did your recording sessions take? And do you remember which one was the longest off the top of your head?
I want to say actually the first scene where I approach Chloe, I think that took the longest because it was very that's I think the first time you see Victoria, maybe one of her bigger dialogue moments where I'm like talking about the paper and the school and stuff. So that was, I think, the longest and the most I think vocally not strained. I don't want to say straining because it wasn't straining, but just more demanding, I guess, because it was like you had to do 4 takes of this, and then she had to get mad when we had to do different versions and all this stuff. But yeah, I think they weren't very long. They weren't terribly long. I do think that was the longest one. Other than that, it went very, I think once we all figured out our flow, it got a little quicker. So yeah.
Right. Okay. And with your studio sessions, were they all on your own in the booth?
Yes, they were all on my own for that one, yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And did you cross paths with anyone before or after leaving the booth?
I believe I did. I don't think with Chloe or Amber, not any of the main characters, but I think maybe just some background vocalists and stuff for the kids or the, what's his name? The teacher in the theater production. Or not the principal, what's his name?
I know who you mean.
I know everyone watching probably knows who I mean.
The
drama director teacher, yes. Yeah. I think I might have crossed paths with him. And then another young boy, he was there always, and then we just filled out our paperwork. It was very all right, your session, which was fun, but I do other voiceovers now too, but it's always fun when the other characters are there just because you can play. So I do hope if we do make another revamp or something, it would be lovely to have the others there because it's fun.
And did you go to the reunion after filming the game?
Well, like I was saying, and somebody did reach out, but I don't know what happened. This is inspiring me though to just have it because we all kind of experienced the same thing, but I don't think we've ever talked about it. So I think it'd be fun. Maybe if your subscribers want to comment below, if we all should have a cast reunion live session, you can ask us questions or something if they'd be interested. I think that'd be really fun. I think if we
I'll put my full effort to getting that done.
Yeah. A Zoom, even if it's a Zoom version, I am so down.
I think they'll definitely be up for something like that. And with Victoria as well, what was the one thing that you really liked about her the most, and why?
I think it goes back to being bold. She knew what she wanted, even though it might have not been the most nice thing. I think she was just very sneaky and bold. She got her way. She tried her hardest to get her way. And I think that as anybody, just being confident in what you want is always the start. Obviously, don't try to poison someone, but I think just as a message, just one thing you can learn from her is just sometimes you just have to not care what people think and just be who you are. And that's kind of where I sit with her.
Okay. And let's take that flip side. Is there one thing that you wish that the developers had focused on more with Victoria, your Victoria specifically?
Well, I think in my situation, I kind of was thrown into this world and I didn't really know who she was at first until I kind of had to create more of who she was. And I think they really could have played around more of her like social group. I wish that maybe I could have known if she had like a posse of friends, or if they were going to team up or something, or if it literally, I think in that one it's mainly just going on her, like her ideas. So I think it would have been fun to like play with like some friends of hers, or like even if there's a boyfriend or something, or if there was like a fight between a boy, or like that would have been interesting, maybe in the sequel of this, or like another version of this or something.
Definitely. She does have a posse in the first game, I'll tell you that. There's no messing with her in that game. So with yourself as well, you've gone into modeling, and you've said that you like to provoke stories through photographs, and then you play a character like Victoria, who is a photographer and will obviously like to tell stories through photographs. So what I'm trying to say is, like, these, Victoria, Theresa, did you start noticing the similarities that you shared in common with the character when you started playing her?
Yeah, I did. Actually, I feel like we were very like image focused, in the sense of like we wanted to portray an authentic version of what we're trying to capture. And then I also feel like sometimes I felt like Victoria was putting on a facade of like really inside she, there's something, going on inside her. And I really, sometimes I deal with that too. It's like I'm feeling a certain way, but I'm trying to make it seem like everything's all happy and like I'm cool, like I'm, confident and whatever. And that's something I want to be more open about, too. It's like we don't need to hide so much, we don't need to block those emotions. And I think she kind of does that in a way too, until everything just does fall apart for her, kind of, in later on in the game. And I feel like that I really resonated with that in her, so I kind of tapped into myself.
Okay. And, Victoria, the dynamic with her is with Rachel Amber and Chloe Price. What did you make of the kind of like the standoff tension between Victoria and these two characters, and how it overall came together in the story as well?
Yeah, I first of all, I felt so mean to them. Like I would never do that in real life. But I thought the dynamic was kind of, she got what she kind of deserved. Like it was very well written, I guess, if you even want to say, like, yeah, it was well written. What happens, because when you kind of have like someone else see what's going on, like with Victoria in the sense too, like Chloe, or having a sidekick was just like, it was interesting because it was always like, it was 2 versus 1. And I felt like jealous and envy, and I wanted my way, but it was just kind of hard to be put in that way. So I think the dynamic of the storyline, like showing that I'm like this cool person, then all of a sudden they flip it around and it's like, yeah, like, no, you can't treat people like that. So I think they did a really, really great job with that.
I'm glad to hear that as well. And with your 3 characters, you share a very interesting scene. So just prior to the Tempest, you said it yourself, Victoria tries to like put drugs in Rachel's drink, depending on choice as well, and take her place as Prospera in the Tempest. You're a theatre background as well. You got that. I bet you must have shared Victoria's frustration of not doing the scene of the Tempest.
Yes. Oh, man. I think, obviously she had it coming for her in that whole scenario, but there's nothing like as an actress as well, it's like you can try so hard and do everything that you can for a character or for a role or for audition, and you'll get so close and you won't get it. And in that sense, it's like, yeah, it's very heartbreaking, but at the end of the day, everything happens for a reason, and people get the roles they get because of something, it doesn't even matter. It might not even have to do with you. It might have to do with, like they need a certain look and a certain speech, or a certain, you weren't available for this day. So I think in the sense that when she didn't get that role, obviously it's like, because she kind of ruined it for herself in the way, because she drank the tea, but I felt that pain, that suffering of like, you tried so hard, but you're biting your own bullet.
and like you said as well, this isn't your world, technically speaking, in terms of gaming, and then now you've become a bit closer with it because of this game. Did you have the chance to sit down and watch the Tempest scene?
I did actually, and I was like, whoa, like it was really good. Yeah.
I just wanted to know your thoughts, because obviously that theatre background, you've obviously I assume you read Shakespeare, so I just kind of wanted to know how you felt about seeing this in a video game and playing out the way that it did.
Well, first of all, I think the graphics were amazing, and I think that they did a great job of incorporating, which was really cool. They like really incorporated like an older form of art, obviously Shakespeare, into like this modernized game. And so I hope that it did, like, I think it was kind of funny. It was comical, honestly. But it was good. It was just like, it makes you be like, oh gosh, like what's happening? Because they only get through so many lines and stuff. But I think they did a really good job. And I think that it really brought in maybe a player's perception of maybe going out and looking up what the Tempest was. Some people might not even know what that is. And they're like, oh my gosh, like now it kind of was inspiring people to kind of learn about what the Tempest is or what Shakespeare is because it's in this game. So I think it's really cool that they built that in. And I think the scene was really well done as well. And the stage and they did a nice job. The behind the dressing room was really nice too. So with everything, it was very typical.
I'm glad that you said that as well. And I think Kylie, when she came on here, she spoke about really how difficult it was to kind of record the scene and like how long it was. So yeah. So we'll just move away from Victoria for the minute. So I kind of want to know, do you have any favorite characters outside of Victoria in Before the Storm?
Wait, in this game?
Yeah, in this game.
Yeah, I like Chloe. I love Chloe. I think she's like, she knows who she is, and although she might seem meek, like especially in the beginning of this, like she might seem like, oh, I'm the new person, like I'm pushed around, whatever. Like I think she will play along. That's what I liked about it. She like played along, but really in her head she had a plan. I think she's like sneaky too. I like her. Yeah, I would have to say her. She's my favorite. And of course, Victoria. But yeah, I mean, all the characters are great. Like everyone was great, but I have to say, like, I think I resonate more as like Theresa to like a Chloe. So that's why I think I really liked Chloe.
Okay. And with that as well, what's your favorite scene from the game? You've seen it all. Which would you say was your favorite scene from the game and why?
But I have to say it's like the first one because the way, honestly, it's funny when people like come out and the way Victoria walks. The way she walks, like you have to watch it. Like, it's just the way she walks, so sassy. She sways her hips. It's like the first one. And she's like, Rachel Amber is not, you know what I mean? It's very like sassy. I just love that scene. I laugh every time in a good way. It's like really funny, but because it shows who she is. Like, even the sassy walk and like about her homework and like, so I have to keep it simple and say that's it. I mean, I could say I do like, I think it's more acting depth, obviously, like when she's about to like, she's like, come on, V, I got to get this when she's looking at herself in the mirror. But I have to say it's the first, like that first bit of Chloe Price, like acting all innocent. And then like when she like thinks she gets her way, when she turns around and walks, that's my favorite part.
Have you watched the entirety of Before the Storm?
I have. What they did give it to us when this was I think maybe 2 years ago or something, I want to say, or even 3.
3, I think it's now. Yeah, 3.
So I can't really remember the entire thing right now, but I did when we first got it. They like gave us the game and everything. It was really fun, and obviously on YouTube there's some clips and tutorials and stuff. So,
have you played for the first Life is Strange or like watched it all?
I watched some tutorials, like especially before once I found out what it was. I haven't played the first game though. No.
Okay, right, no worries. You're an avid music lover, musician. Did you have the chance to sit down and listen to the music for Before the Storm?
I did. I think the music in the background especially is like spot on. It's like not too distracting, but it's also not like irrelevant or unnoticeable, I guess you could say. I think every song they chose to be in the background really matched with what was going on in the scene. So I think it was really well put together. Okay.
Were there any favorite tracks from Before the Storm soundtrack, or am I pulling too much at you for 3 years?
Oh my goodness. I'd have to look and see if there was a favorite. I just know maybe the part where I think there was like I don't know what it's called, but like the part where I'm about to go on and the teacher gives Chloe he like takes the role away from me basically. And it's like very dramatic. I don't know what song that was, but like kind of near the Tempest part, like the song in the background. I don't know if you can pull it up and see the track, what it's called. That song really stuck out to me.
Okay. You know, sticking with the music side of things, you know, as I said, this game has got like a phenomenal soundtrack. You play a character like Victoria. You make music as well. Has there been any songs that you've written that have been inspired by Before the Storm or Victoria, or have you got any plans to infuse it in a song down the line?
I mean, I do write and record a lot of music, and I definitely have, especially during this pandemic. It's all on Spotify or SoundCloud if anyone wants to interest themselves. But I think in general, a lot of my songs do kind of touch on who I am. And like when I was Victoria as well, there were moments I think that we both kind of shared. And I'm trying to think of one of the songs. There's a song I wrote called Torn. It's Torn. And I believe that song kind of resonates with a Victoria in this game, as well as Push. Yeah, there's a song I also have that's called Push that kind of was inspired by the circumstances of my life and kind of Victoria's life. It kind of delves into like this idea of perfectionism and getting what you want basically, and you don't have to, you know, engulf all your time into that. And it's just, why is it engulfing your time? You know, you don't have to be on 100%. So I think those two songs would be my top two if anyone's interested.
Well, you kind of like hit my next question as well, because I was digging through your YouTube and listening to the songs. They are very good, by the way, as well. I did like them. And specifically on terms of covering songs as well, I've seen that you've done quite a lot of them. Which has been your favorite song to cover and why?
Oh my goodness. My favorite song is my most recent song I covered. It's Feel Me by Selena Gomez. And it's on my YouTube channel, Theresa Croft Music. And I just did that recently, actually, a few months ago with one of my producer friends. He loves like dance pop and, you know, all that kind of stuff and electro pop. So we had really fun. We had a really fun session doing that. He did it so quick because, you know, if anyone listens to the original song, it's more of like, it's poppy, but it's not like electro dance pop. So this is more of like a get up and dance kind of song. And I kind of wanted to do it just because, you know, we're in a pandemic and we need some joy, like get up and dance, like have fun. So I really think that was my favorite song I've done so far of a cover.
I'm glad to hear that. And I've left one of the more difficult questions towards the end of this as well, in terms of like, you know, we don't see it fully in Before the Storm, but, you know, Victoria is the queen of the Vortex Club. She, you know, builds herself around that. And we kind of see her slowly building her way towards like taking over that club. And the big question is Theresa Croft a member of the Vortex Club or not?
I would have to say I am a member of the Vortex Club. I am. Okay. I am.
I was going to say, it's a bit of betrayal if you don't, because you're Victoria.
Of course. I have to stay true to that.
And like, as I said, like, you know, in August, it was the 3-year anniversary of Before the Storm. And just like for a moment, if I mention that as well, like, you know, what's it feel like to land potentially like a life-changing role, then looking back now 3 years later on this show about Life is Strange and the kind of like cultural relevance of it? How do you feel about it, just thinking back on that time and the impact it's had on people?
I think, like, especially during the time, oh my goodness, sorry, there is a siren, like, outside. Okay. Life right now. Well, I do wish we could go back in time. That's not, just kidding. Goodness. Do you hear that? Yeah.
Slightly,
Okay, so it's not, right. I'm hearing it? Okay. Anyway, so I think during the time when I was recording for Victoria, like I said, I didn't really think anything of it. I didn't know. And it just goes to show that you should never turn, like I could have easily turned this whole thing down. I could have been like, oh, I don't want to do this voiceover, or like, oh, no, whatever, it's going to waste my time. But for me, I'm all about like just anything creative, anything fun. And I'm just so happy that I did it, because I wouldn't have gained all this knowledge about the culture of video games and of this whole fan base that is incredible, and people, you know, send me letters and like support me, and it's so welcoming and warming, and I'm just so happy I took that chance, because just like anything in life, you never know until you do it.
Okay, I'm very glad to hear that as well. And I imagine the community is definitely glad to hear that. And specifically in terms of like, you know, post Before the Storm, you've worked on projects since then in terms of like short films and different shorts. And then, but nothing in VO and specifically gaming. Have you been applying for auditions in VO and gaming work since Before the Storm?
Yeah, so before I even did this, I was doing a lot of like voiceovers for commercials and like that kind of stuff, but never. And then I was doing like virtual reality type of auditions where you have to you have to actually be the character. So I think this was literally like my first experience with a professional voiceover role in a video game. However, after that, I've done a lot more like animation voiceovers, so it's kind of been like fun to go back to the studios and do that kind of work. It's kind of a reminder, but I think that being Victoria, or like this whole experience, will always be like a very cherished memory, just because it was like the first inside, in-depth way into that realm.
I'm very glad to hear that. And this is kind of improv question because someone kind of brought it up to me a couple of days ago. And it's in terms of like, you know, you've worked in VO work, you've done this, you've got all those traits that you have of singing, songwriting and stuff like that. And with this series as well, I know like a lot of people have been kind of like inspired to do what the other actors have done, like go into voice acting. What kind of like tips would you give to an aspiring actor who wants to get into VO work and just generally into acting as well? What's the kind of best method based on your experience?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would suggest, especially now, like while we have this time, Googling in your area if there are any voiceover studios, because a lot of them are having like Zoom classes you can like take and talk to like instructors. Otherwise, literally YouTube has a lot of options as well, or there's books. And I also will say that accent and dialect work is key in voiceovers, just because it just adds to your skill set, and they're fun. And it's just like you can do a lot more jobs with that, because it's actually, it's funny because I love RP. Like that's one of I go for a lot of like RP roles, and which is UK or like British, I guess you could say, dialect. And I'm more posh though. And I learned Cockney in school. I learned Australian, like all that kind of stuff. So it kind of just like, I would really just do your research and find books, and also study acting, because a lot of people think like, oh, I'm hiding behind an animation thing, I don't need to have any emotion. It's like, you still need to have that acting there, because that's what, you know, makes the character thrive. And, you know, that's what it is, you know, at the end of the day. So yeah. And I would just say, keep going. Like you're not going to get every job you try for. You're not going to get every role. And as someone who did this as a young child, growing into who I am today, I've done this a long time, and I've learned to be okay with rejection. And it's not easy, but it's just something you have to, you know, push through. And going back to what I said in the beginning of this, just knowing who you are and staying true to who you are. Because if you change for someone else, you don't know who you are at that point.
That was very insightful. By the way, how good's your English accent?
Well, you tell me. Where are you from, actually?
From the UK. From England.
From England. So which part? I think mine is more posh, right? It's not very, I guess, south. Is that a south?
No, I think that's very, I think you're quite south.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to hear. That's when I was working on.
I get kind of confused myself, because like, sometimes I've had Americans say you're really posh, but then I'm from the north of England, so I'm not necessarily posh, but then I can turn up my British accent as well, because I can say like, it's nice grass, and then like people are like, why are you saying grass in the north of England? Like we say grass here, and it's...
So yeah, and then the whole like historic, like the Valley, the R-taps, it could go on forever. And I actually did, I recently did a commercial audition for Wedgwood. Are you familiar with Wedgwood?
I'm not.
Oh, you're not a tea person, I forgot. Well, look up Wedgwood, all you UK people. They have some really nice collections. Anyways, that's I do love it. I love it.
Well, as I said, very insightful. And we're going onto the final question. I usually ask all my guests this question as well. And so there are currently plans for a Life is Strange TV show. While you would love to play Victoria, I'm not going to let you pick her at this point yourself for it. So you're the casting director. Who would you cast as Victoria and why? And you mentioned a whole plethora of empowering women at the beginning of this as well. So I'll let you choose.
You probably know. I'd have to choose Emma Watson. Emma Watson would play Victoria Chase in the TV show, I think. If she would take it on. I feel like Emma Watson has been doing just more films lately. Or either her or maybe, I don't know. No, Anna Kendrick's a little too spunky. Who's another one? Maybe, no. I feel like someone who I would want to play Chloe, though, if I can't say that. I think Joey King would make a great Chloe. I think she would make Chloe, if any casting directors watching. But I would love to play Victoria Chase, too. So that's out there too.
No, very good choices. So we're at the end of the show, and I always let my guests close out, and they always send a message to the Life is Strange community. And the floor is yours. I will let you take this away.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say I am so awestruck, and I feel so welcomed by you all. I'm so thankful to have this such wonderful community and supportive community, and I just think keep doing what you're doing, keep supporting the games, because we have so much fun making them and being these characters that you guys are inspired by. And I think that these games not only teach you ways in life, but it also is like a mental check-in, even with yourself. And I'm just so blessed to have this community in my life now. And thank you for welcoming me.
Fantastic message, wonderful message. And guys, thank you so much for watching. That is today's episode. Theresa, thank you so much for coming on the show. And so guys, if you enjoyed the video, do subscribe, do rate, do comment. It really does help. The channel's growing. Very appreciative of it. And it's a very good series. I've had so many wonderful guests on. Hopefully another one to come very soon. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.